great rabbis of yesteryear. Now, over here, I wanted to speak today about a great rabbi, a son of the famous Rabbi Yaakov Chaim Ades. His name, who we're speaking about today, is Rabbi Ezra Nissim Ades, one of the great rabbis of his time, and I believe he would have various different prominent positions. And I believe he actually passed away. It must have been around the 16th of Adar, around that specific time period itself, back in the year 2012. I believe it reported over that possibly the funeral was on Yud Zayin Adar of that year, so I'm not necessarily speaking the video at the time of his Hilula per se, but I thought it's important to let's speak about him anyway, because it happened to be, I think this week, it was Hilula of Rabbi Yaakov Chaim Ades. So he was a great rabbi. We can say much within regards to him. I believe he was born around the time period of April 1921, passing away, I think it was March 10th in 2012 to be precise. He was 90 years of age at the time he passed away. He was, I think he was born actually in Jerusalem, and the family themselves were named to the king. They were geniuses, they were very, very righteous, and a very, very great family. Both of his grandfathers were famous Kabbalists, I think especially on his father's side. I think his grandfather was let's say the venerated Rabbi Abraham Chaim Ades Antebi, very, very great rabbi. And I think on his mother's side was another famous rabbi, Rabbi Ezra Harari Raful. And these are great rabbis we've spoken about on various occasions before on this series. Rabbi Yaakov Chaim Ades, his father, became Maggid Shir of Yeshivat Porat Yosef when it opened in their old city. This was back in Jerusalem in the year 1923. If we go all the way back to that specific time period. Now it's actually interesting. I think at his Brit Milah, which took place in Pesach of that year, he was named Ezra. This was following the custom of Sfardim in honor of his grandfather, whilst the name Nissim was added in honor of Pesach, a holiday of miracles. Let's say at the time period, the young Ezra Ades would enroll to Yeshivat Porat Yosef. I'm actually reading this from the Jenny website. I think it's a chronicle of various different, let's just say, family trees over here. Someone brought out a brilliant article with regards to this. So he would enroll in the famous Yeshivat Porat Yosef. He had brilliant intellect. He had diligence. And he became, let's just say, a favorite Talmud, one of the famous Rosh Yeshiva at the time, Rabbi Ezra Atiyah. And remember we spoke about Rabbi Ezra Atiyah. He was also the Rabbi of Chacham Ovadia Yosef, the former chief rabbi of Israel. He was himself, respectively, between the years 1973 and 1983, chief rabbi. He would go on to learn a Dayanut, but then to become a judge in Israel. I think when he was about 26 years of age, it's reported over, he would get married to Rabbanit Simchat Raful, and they would end up married for more than 60 years at the end. I think come the year 1951, he would receive a call to head the שערי Tzedek Synagogue and Talmud Torah in Old Lansdowne Road, West Disbury, I think in South Manchester, respectively. This is in the United Kingdom. He arrived, let's say, in a very different world from Yerushalayim of that specific time, but he did not allow, let's just say, the genius of it to become a barrier, let's just say, to speaking to everyone at their own level, because there's a huge difference between Manchester and Jerusalem, respectively. At the beginning, he didn't know much English, so he communicated mostly in Arabic, I think, with the congregants, because it was maybe mainly an Arabic-speaking community. But obviously, he was fluent in that, and many people were fluent over there. However, I think the most important aspect of his work was teaching the children of the community in the Talmud Torah. To this end, let's just say, he rapidly set his acute mind to learning English, and throughout his life, both in Manchester and when he was in Eretz Israel, he was never happier than when he was able to teach Torah to young children, because that's the greatest form of joy, especially. It's not just learning Torah, but teaching Torah to other people. I think it's he would have a strong background in halacha in his community. He would show the importance of this. I think he was in contact with various other rabbis, especially in Manchester, especially I think in parts of Manchester, Betdin. There was Diane Weiss, I think, he was a Balmin Chat Yitzchak, invited him to sit in a Manchester Betdin. And very difficult cases came up, and his great scholarship experience, and let's say Siyata Dishmaya, were highly acclaimed at that point in time. It's actually interesting. There weren't any Jewish schools in South Manchester at that point in time, so there was a great sacrifice. He would send all his schools to, I think, the various different mosques. I think that was based actually in North Manchester, because I think there was a much stronger Jewish community, and there was let's just say more religious background. He would eventually, I think he would, very interesting. I think many of his children and family will end up going to learn in Mostot, in Gateshead, respectively, foundations in Gateshead, learning institutions. He had, for example, was brilliant, Shliach Tzibur, melodious, beautiful tefillot, with great kavanah. He would follow with the tefillot, let's say the Aleppo musical traditions over there. Let's say there was various different sources of inspiration at that point in time, and everyone was inspired, whoever heard it. It reports over that when he would blow the shofar, the very walls trembled, as I think they quote over in this article of a pasuk in the book of Amos, the Navi, I think he says, and very, very interesting. I think, but quoting from chapter number 3, verse number 6, it says, when he expounded the passage from Mishnah, the listeners felt as if magically transported to Judea of bygone era. So vivid and colourful was his explanation. Additionally, he recited each Mishnah in ancient traditional niganot, known today only to the sages of Aleppo. Aleppo, obviously, being in Syria, one of the great communities of the time. And let's just say lightning speed reckoning of Gematerians were his speciality. If you check the addition with a calculator and it didn't tally, then you knew your calculator was in need of a repair. He always, let's say, had mnemonic or acrostic ready for every occasion. He was very, very modest, it's reported over. He didn't like to have great honor. I think at the synagogue, Shari Tzedek, even the menial tasks, let's just say, such as repairing torn books, erecting the chuppah before weddings, or setting out memorial candles for Yom Kippur, he would participate very much even in things like that, because the kedusha, the mitzvot, this would be connected in. The Shari Tzedek community would later on go on to merge with the Sha'arei Rachamim, forming Sha'arei Chayim. I think the current Sephardi synagogue in South Manchester, under dynamic leadership of Rabbi Eli Tub, I think currently. A new Sha'arei Tzedek synagogue, I think, is, at the time of this article when it was written, was in construction in Hale. I'm not sure what's the update within regards to that. But come with the year 1970, Rabbi Ades was invited to serve as a rabbi of Herzliya, and he would be once again close to his family, and would really try and strengthen the city in of itself. And I think he would serve in the Herzliya Rabbinut for over 40 years, as reported over. In the Herzliya, he would preach in various different synagogues. He would go around to even 6 synagogues in one Shabbat, feeling responsibility to connect with everybody inside town. Once again, one of the greatest achievements he would have held inside the place was the establishment of Shabbat afternoon Talmud Torah classes in synagogues all over the city. He was not into material pleasure at all. He just wanted to seek to do goodness for other people. For example, I think it's reported over in this article, there were fruit trees in his front garden, and he once caught 2 young rascals, so to say, helping themselves to fruit. Rabbi Ades called to them, "You're welcome to take fruit from the garden whenever you want, but please let me separate Trumot or Masrot before." They came again the following week and soon became friends. It did not take long till they became B'nai Torah themselves. Look at the way he imbued the people inside Torah. His true genius in the Torah was known to only a few, as he spent his entire life trying to hide his greatness. I think his younger brother, Rabbi Yehuda, who great rabbi, he's Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Kol Yaakov, is reputed to have said that when trying to locate a forgotten Gemara passage, the best way is to phone Rabbi Ezra in Herzliya. Now, I think it's reported over, it was just before Purim that Rabbi Ades sadly became very seriously ill. And just after Shabbat Parashat Ki Tzisa, I think on the 17th of Adar, he passed away in the Sha'arei Tzedek Hospital in Jerusalem. I think he was nearly 91 years of age at that point in time. Many great rabbis attended his, spoke in his funeral, including Rabbi Yehuda Ades, I think his brother, obviously, Rabbi Yaakov Hillel, the great rabbi, great Kabbalist. He's obviously the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Ahavat Shalom, and obviously he was very traveled in the United Kingdom also himself. And he left behind a wife, rabbinate, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, all following the ways of Torah, respectively. He was born back in the year 1912. He passed away on March the 10th, I think it was, in the year 2012. I think he would have included, among his children, included Rabbi Avram Ades, Rabbinate Esther Ades, Rabbi Meir Ades. Very, very great. That was included among his children. I think it was someone named Yosef Praga who would actually write this specific, very, very detailed article, which we have to point out. Also, his mother's name actually happened to be Rabbinit Esther Chaya Hades, who we've spoken about before inside this series. So he's a very, very great rabbi. We can add a few more information tidbits at this point in time within regards to great rabbi. He was very much part of the United Kingdom community. He was very much part of the Herzliya community, and was, I think, very much connected also to Kol Yaakov Yeshiva. And I think this family themselves sat Shiva at that point in time in Beit Vagan, if I'm not mistaken, happened to be over there. So he was much more. We've spoken about many members of his family inside this series already. So I thought it was definitely appropriate to speak about him over here. He was obviously the history of the Yeshivat Porat Yosef. He was one of the great students of Yeshivat Porat Yosef. Just say something about his father. His father, I think, was born back in the year 1848, Rabbi Avraham Chai Ades, and passed away in 1925. His grandparent, I think his father, Rabbi Yaakov Ades, passed away in 1963 and born in 1898. His grandfather was Rabbi Avraham Chaim Ades, who was born in 1848 and passed in 1925. His grandmother's name was Rabbanit Salah. She was a daughter of another great rabbi, Rabbi Moshe Sved, who was Rabbi of Aleppo. So technically his great-grandfather was Rabbi Moshe Sved, who was very, very much a great rabbi. And it's actually interesting just to point out about his grandfather, how great his grandfather, Rabbi Avraham Chaim Ades, was. He was a Kabbalist, he was an author, and he was a rabbi of various great rabbis of the community, including Rabbi Yosef Yedid Halevi, Rabbi Ezra Hamwi, Rabbi Yaakov Katzin, Rabbi Shlomo Laniado, and famous Rabbi Ezra Atiyah happened to be his grandfather, happened to be the rabbi of him, and later on Rabbi Ezra Atiyah would become his rabbi, respectively. Just say something about his father, Rabbi Harab Ades, who he was, I believe, a Dayan and head of Jewish court. He was a prominent position, Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Porat Yosef. He was Dayan in Sephardic Bet Din of Jerusalem between the years 1944 to 1955. Eventually, when he passed away, he was buried in, I believe, in Har HaMenuchot, the Mount of Rest burial plot over there. And he was a Magid Shir also in Yeshivat Ohel Moed. I think at one stage in time, he was offered a seat by the Rishon LeZion, if I'm not mistaken, and he was in connection with one of the great Dayanim of his time, Rabbi Yaakov Chai Ades was, which you have to point out also. And it's interesting, Rabbi Ezra Nissim Ades, who we're speaking about in this series over here today, was Rabbi Shari Tzedek in Manchester. He had two other great brothers, for example, Rabbi Moshe Yosef Ades, who was a Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Porat Yosef, and Rabbi Yehuda Ades, who was also a Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Kol Yaakov in Jerusalem. So he had great brothers in himself, great family. And much more can be learned about him. So friends, we are a community here. We're learning about the great Oriental rabbis of yesteryear. If you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please subscribe to this channel now. We're nearing a staggering 7,000 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement. I never thought we will achieve this at any stage in time, but Baruch Hashem, we've done that. If you feel anyone's interested in watching any of these videos, please share these videos to other people and help the community grow as we're growing further and further. We don't just concentrate on videos of great rabbis in this series. What also we are trying to do inside this series, we're exploring the life of various different great rabbis. And we are also doing videos on the Parshat HaShavua. We also have a special series at the moment where we are speaking about, we have a special person, a great rabbinic figure of nowadays, or a Jewish personality that will give us some wisdom to really encourage Am Yisrael and to inspire Am Yisrael with a very, very inspirational message every single day, which we are trying to do. And we're very, very proud of that at the moment. Also, we're doing a Daf Yomi tidbit every single day. This tidbit that is about a few minutes each time, where we speak about something interesting within regards to daily Talmud, daily page of the Daf Yomi. We also do videos on Rosh Chodesh and also current Jewish events. And one other thing we're doing inside the series at the moment, which is also very special, we try and go to various different biblical areas in Eretz Israel to explore different synagogues, different sites of Israel, and the different beauty about this fantastic country of Eretz Israel. That's what we are doing at the moment, and it's very, very special time. So wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Take care, and thanks everyone for watching, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks.